If you are a high-achieving woman who is doing everything right and still feel exhausted, inflamed, foggy, and dismissed by your doctor, this episode is for you. I am talking to the woman who wakes up tired, even after 8 hours of sleep. The woman whose labs come back normal, but her body is screaming that something is wrong. The woman who has been told her symptoms are just stress, just anxiety, just getting older, just hormones. The woman who knows deep down that there is more to the story. Today, I am walking you through 6 things your doctor is probably not telling you about what chronic stress is actually doing to your body, why your cortisol is likely dysregulated, even if no one has tested it properly, and how hidden inflammation is silently driving your exhaustion, your weight gain, your brain fog, and your mood. I am also going to give you a clear action plan so you can start making changes today. I have lived this personally. After my stroke at 29, after mold poisoning in 2023, and after being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called MOGAD in 2024, I became obsessed with understanding the root causes of what was happening in my body. And what I found in the research completely changed the way I think about stress, inflammation, and what it means to actually heal. So let us get into it. Tip 1. Understand that chronic stress is a physical disease, not just a feeling. Most of us think of stress as something emotional. We think it is something we just need to manage better, breathe through, journal about, or push past. But here is what the research is actually showing us. Chronic psychological stress is directly associated with a greater risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, depression, and impaired wound healing. That is not just an opinion. That is published research out of the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Cohen et al. 2012, PNAS. Stress is not just a feeling. It is a biological event that changes your body at the cellular level. What most women are doing wrong is minimizing their stress load. We say things like, well, everyone is stressed, or I am fine, I am handling it. We wear busyness as a badge of honor. I did this for years. I built multiple businesses, I traveled, I performed, I pushed, and I told myself I was thriving. But my body was keeping score the entire time. What to do instead is start treating your stress load as a clinical symptom, not a personality trait. Begin tracking how your body responds to stress. Are you wired but tired at night? Do you crash in the afternoon? Do you get sick after every big deadline? These are physical signs that your stress response system is struggling. Write them down, take them seriously. They are data points, not weaknesses. A quick win here is to simply acknowledge today, out loud or in writing, that your stress is physical and it deserves the same attention you would give a broken bone. Tip 2, learn what cortisol dysfunction actually looks like because it probably does not look like what you think. Most people picture high cortisol as someone who is wound tight, anxious, and aggressive. And yes, that can be part of it, but cortisol dysfunction in high-achieving women often looks very different. It looks like you. Here is the science in simple terms. Your body has a system called the HPA axis. That stands for hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Think of it as your body's stress command center. When you experience stress, your brain signals your adrenal glands to release cortisol. Cortisol is not a bad hormone. In short bursts, it helps you perform, focus, and respond to threats. The problem happens when the stress never stops. Research published in PNAS shows that when stress becomes chronic, your cells actually stop responding to cortisol properly. This is called glucocorticoid receptor resistance. Cohen et al., 2012, PNAS. What this means in plain English is that your body keeps pumping out cortisol, but the cells stop listening to it. And when cortisol cannot do its job, one of its most important jobs, which is to turn off inflammation, stops happening, so inflammation runs unchecked. What most women are doing wrong is assuming that if their cortisol blood test came back normal, they are fine. A standard blood cortisol test is a snapshot. It does not show your cortisol rhythm throughout the day, which is what actually matters. Your cortisol should be high in the morning and taper down through the day. When that rhythm breaks down, you feel it tired in the morning, wired at night, exhausted but unable to sleep. Sound familiar? What to do instead is ask your doctor or functional health practitioner for a 4-point salivary or urinary cortisol test that maps your cortisol levels across the full day. This gives you an actual picture of your rhythm, not just a single snapshot. And if your practitioner is not familiar with this kind of testing, that is important information for you about whether you need a second opinion. Tip 3, recognize the signs of hidden inflammation before it becomes a diagnosis. This one is close to my heart. I had inflammation building in my body for years before anyone put a name on it, and I am not alone in that experience. Here is what the research tells us. Chronic stress leads to what scientists call a pro-inflammatory state. Cohen et al., 2012, PNAS. Your body starts producing excess inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. You cannot see them. Your standard lab work often does not catch them. But they are quietly driving a long list of symptoms that your doctor may be attributing to something else entirely, or worse, to nothing at all. A 2021 study published in Brain, Behavior, and Immunity found that perceived stress is directly linked to elevated inflammatory biomarkers through the cortisol pathway, Shields et al., 2021, Brain, Behavior, and Immunity. In other words, how stressed you feel in your daily life is measurable in your blood. Your emotional experience of stress is creating physical changes in your body's inflammatory markers. What most women are doing wrong is waiting for a diagnosis before they take their symptoms seriously. Brain fog, joint pain, bloating, skin issues, chronic fatigue, mood swings, weight gain that will not budge no matter what you do. These are not random. These are signs your immune system is activated and your body is in a low-grade inflammatory state. When I went through mold poisoning in 2023, my inflammation was off the charts, and yet multiple tests came back in ranges that my doctors called normal. It took working with a functional health practitioner who was willing to look deeper and run different markers to actually see what was happening. What to do instead is ask for inflammatory markers that go beyond a standard CBC, ask for a high sensitivity CRP, which stands for C-reactive protein, ask for homocysteine, ask for ferritin. These give a much clearer picture of what is happening in your immune system. And if your current doctor is not interested in running these tests, it may be time to find someone who is. A quick win is to write down every symptom you have been dismissing as normal. Every single one. That list is not nothing. That list is your body asking for help. Tip 4. Understand the cortisol and sleep connection that is keeping you sick. This is one of the most underestimated cycles I see in high-achieving women, and it is absolutely something I struggled with myself. Here is the connection. When cortisol is dysregulated, it disrupts your sleep. When your sleep is disrupted, your cortisol goes up the next day, and around it goes. Research shows that sleep deprivation significantly elevates cortisol levels and drives insulin resistance. Spiegel et al., 1999, Lancet. More recent research has confirmed that even mild sleep restriction raises cortisol and worsens metabolic function in women specifically. Leproult and Van Kuter, 2010, JAMA. But here is the piece that most people miss. Poor sleep does not just make you tired. It makes your inflammation worse. When you are not getting deep, restorative sleep, your body cannot clear inflammatory signals the way it is designed to. Inflammation builds, cortisol rises, sleep gets worse, weight goes up, energy crashes, and your doctor tells you to try melatonin. What most women are doing wrong is treating sleep as optional or as something to catch up on during the weekend. Many high-achieving women I know, and I include my past self in this category, run on 6 hours or less and consider that a badge of discipline. It is not. Chronic short sleep is one of the fastest ways to accelerate cortisol dysfunction and systemic inflammation. What to do instead is protect your sleep like it is a business meeting you cannot cancel. That means a consistent bedtime, no screens in the last hour before sleep, a cool and dark room, and no caffeine after 2 in the afternoon. I also want you to think about your cortisol rhythm here. If your cortisol is still high at night, your body cannot produce enough melatonin to wind you down. That is a cortisol problem, not a sleep hygiene problem, and it needs to be addressed at the root. A quick win here is to commit to a consistent wake time for the next 7 days, even on weekends. This is one of the single most effective tools for resetting your cortisol rhythm, and it costs nothing. Tip 5, stop letting your doctor tell you that your labs are normal when your body is saying otherwise. I want to say this as clearly as I can because this one changed my life. Normal on a lab test and optimal for your body are two completely different things. Standard lab reference ranges are built on population averages. That means the range of normal includes people who are chronically ill, sedentary, inflamed, and metabolically struggling. When your doctor tells you your labs are normal, they are telling you that you fall within the range of what is common, not what is healthy. Research consistently shows that women, particularly during perimenopause and menopause, experience a rise in inflammatory markers as estrogen declines. Greendale et al., 2019, Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. Estrogen is actually a natural anti-inflammatory. As it drops, inflammation can rise. And yet, most standard hormone panels are not run used until symptoms become severe, and they are rarely interpreted in the context of inflammation. A 2023 review published in Curious found significant correlations between cortisol levels and immune function markers across age groups and sexes, confirming that stress and immune health are deeply connected and should be evaluated together, not separately. Curious, 2025. But most conventional medicine still treats them in silos. What most women are doing wrong is trusting a dismissal without asking follow-up questions. If your doctor tells you your labs are normal and you still feel terrible, you are allowed to ask what optimal looks like. Not just normal, you are allowed to ask for additional testing. You are allowed to seek a second opinion. You are the expert on your own body. The labs are one tool, not the whole picture. What to do instead is bring your symptom list to every appointment. Write it down before you go. Date it. Be specific. How many days per week do you feel this way? On a scale of 1 to 10, how does it affect your ability to function? This kind of documentation changes the dynamic and makes it much harder for your symptoms to be minimized. Tip 6, address your nervous system because your body cannot heal in a state of chronic activation. This is the tip that ties everything together, and it is the one that conventional medicine most consistently skips. Your nervous system has 2 primary modes, the sympathetic mode, which is fight or flight, and the parasympathetic mode, which is rest and digest. When you are in chronic stress, your sympathetic nervous system is essentially stuck in the on position, and your body cannot heal, repair, or properly regulate inflammation when it is in that state. Research shows that chronic stress and HPA axis dysregulation create a cascade of effects across multiple organ systems, including the gut, the heart, the skin, the brain, and the immune system. PMC 2025, Chronic Stress and Autoimmunity Review. This is not one problem. It is a systemic state that affects your whole body. Your gut is particularly vulnerable. Chronic stress changes the composition and function of your gut microbiome, increases intestinal permeability, and allows inflammatory particles to enter your bloodstream in ways they should not. This is often called leaky gut in functional health circles, and while conventional medicine has been slow to acknowledge it, the research supporting gut-brain immune axis connections is substantial and growing. What most women are doing wrong is trying to heal their inflammation while continuing to live in survival mode. They take the supplements, they change the diet, they do the workouts, but they have not addressed the root. The nervous system is still activated, the cortisol is still dysregulated, and the body stays stuck. What to do instead is build a daily practice of what I call nervous system anchoring. This does not have to be complicated. It means doing something every single day that signals safety to your body. This could be 5 minutes of slow, deliberate breathing where your exhale is longer than your inhale. It could be a 10-minute walk outside without your phone. It could be legs up the wall for a few minutes before bed. It could be a warm bath without screens. The specific tool matters less than the consistency. Your body needs daily evidence that it is safe. I added nervous system practices to my recovery from MOGAD and from mold illness. And the shift was measurable, not just in how I felt, but in my lab work. Here is your rapid-fire recap. 6 things to focus on starting today. 1. Treat your stress as a physical condition that requires intervention, not just management. 2. Get a full picture of your cortisol rhythm with a 4-point test, not just a single blood draw. 3. Ask for hidden inflammation markers like high sensitivity, CRP, and homocysteine at your next appointment. 4. Protect your sleep like your health depends on it, because it does. 5. Stop accepting normal as the standard. Push for optimal and document your symptoms thoroughly. 6. Build a daily nervous system anchoring practice and do it every day without exception. Now, here is how to actually put this into action. Today, write down every symptom you have been dismissing. Every single one. Joint pain, brain fog, afternoon crashes, trouble falling asleep, weight that will not move, mood swings, skin flares. Write it all down. Date the list. This becomes your baseline. This week, schedule an appointment with your doctor or functional health practitioner and bring that symptom list. Ask specifically for high sensitivity CRP, homocysteine, a full thyroid panel, including T3 and reverse T3, and a 4-point salivary cortisol test. Also, commit to 1 sleep improvement habit this week. Pick one: a consistent wake time, no screens after 9, all blue light off an hour before bed, just 1. Over the next 30 days, build your nervous system anchoring practice. Start with 5 minutes a day. That is it. 5 minutes of slow breathing, or 5 minutes outside without your phone, or 5 minutes of stillness before you get out of bed in the morning. Do it every day for 30 days and pay attention to how your body responds. Also, start reading your labs differently. Ask what optimal looks like. Find a practitioner, whether that is a functional medicine doctor, an integrative health practitioner, or a knowledgeable nurse practitioner who is willing to look at you as a whole person and not just a collection of test results. If any of this resonated with you, I want you to know that you are not broken. You are not making this up. Your symptoms are real, and they have root causes that can be identified and addressed. That is what integrative and functional health is all about, and it is exactly what we dig into inside the Living Simpler Collective. Inside the collective, you will find resources on hormone health, inflammation reduction, nervous system support, and step-by-step guidance for women who are ready to stop settling for normal and start building a body and a life that actually feels good. Come find me on Instagram at Amy Mewborn and send me a DM. Tell me your biggest takeaway from this episode. I read every single one. And if you are a wellness studio owner or practitioner who works with women like this, I want to talk to you too, because there is a real opportunity to serve this population at a deeper level. And I would love to show you how. Thank you for living simpler. I will see you in the next episode.